welcome to another episode of EO Europe's podcast, where I'm Nir Zavaro. I get the chance to interview EO members from all over Europe. We have like 23 different chapters, but today I have a very special guest. I think we met for the first time in 2018. I was giving a talk about storytelling, and in comes this guy, and I think we clicked, we hit it, and we've kept in touch for years. And Kishore, I have to tell you, I know so many people, and you're definitely one of my favorite people on the planet. And I wanted to invite you and to tell your story. How have you been?
Hi, Nir. Thank you so much. Been great. It's been challenging times, but it's always fun when it's challenging because you get to rediscover yourself. So that's what I'm doing now.
So I think for people who haven't met you before, if it's okay, I'll ask you to improvise like an elevator pitch, where you are, what do you do, your full name and everything. Feel free, take it and just have fun.
Hi, Nir. It's great to meet you. Thank you very much for those kind words. It was always been a pleasure to see you. It was great to see you in Moscow for the first time. So as you know, I've been in Russia for the last 21 years almost now, and been into international trade. Originally born and raised in Mumbai, but I've been in Moscow, Russia, which is home for me, for over 20 years now.
How did you get to Moscow from Mumbai?
Generally, my story is that I came here by accident. I was supposed to be on a flight to somewhere else, and I landed in Russia. Well, that's a joke. So I just completed my business school in Mumbai, and my uncles, they invited me to be a part of their business here in Russia, and that was how the story started. So I just packed my bags, left India, did a small stint of training in Dubai for some time, for 3 months, and then to Russia.
At what age?
So I was 22 years old back then.
Wow. Would you look at people finish school and they get a chance to travel somewhere and try their business somewhere else? How did you see that experience? Was this like exciting or frightening or?
So I think most people don't finish business school today at 22. They're much older. But when I was 22, when I finished my business school, I looked at it as a big opportunity. I wanted to see the world. I had never been outside the country. I had just never been. And for me, it was a big opportunity to see the country, know more about the world, what's out there. And we generally think back then in India, we always thought, wow, that's abroad, it's going to be fun, it's going to be like New York. But it was quite disappointing the first few weeks in Russia. My money was stolen. I was, and that too, by a fellow teammate, and couple of things that happened which really strike me apart. I realized that I've gone back in time, and I realized that how progressive India was back then compared to Russia, which had just come out of the first major crisis of the 1997-98. Everybody who would meet you would ask you, if it's not a secret, what do you do? And I would tell them, why the hell should it be a secret if I'm an entrepreneur? But that was how the society was back then in Russia. And it was not normal for you to be an entrepreneur, right? I don't think it still is, but now it's all right. Back then it was a little different. So yeah, it was quite challenging. It was interesting. It was very demanding. You needed to give a lot of yourself.
Were you invited by your family to come and start a business or join their business there?
So they had invested in a company, and they had appointed somebody to take care of it as a country manager. I was supposed to join, be under his guidance, and try and put in my new ideas after fresh MBA, and see what we can do. So yeah, that's how it was, and it was quite a lot of fun because it was very different. It needed different solutions, and business always needs a different solution in different countries at different point of time. It's never the same solution for each country. It's going to be different. The time is going to be different. So yeah, that's how it was back then in 2002 in Russia, in Moscow.
Wait, so you arrive to a different country, you don't speak the language, it's a bit cold, I assume, and then you have to figure it out. So, what today is your business after all those years? What do you actually do? And wait, another question: how well do you speak Russian, and how hard was it to learn it?
So, to answer the last question first, it took me some time to learn the language. It took me about 5 to 6 years to have a total command on it. But I didn't have professional training in Russian. I didn't speak the language back then. Today, I can read, write, speak, and sing in Russian. And the more interesting part was that business has really transformed from being a majorly cash driven economy to becoming a cashless economy to being a digital economy. Russia has really changed, and it has changed most of us. It's made us groom as businessmen. We were basically importers and distributors. We continue to do that today. We are imports and distribution of fashion. I never say I'm involved in selling a product. I always say that I'm involved in a industry which is fashion, and we basically deal with clothing manufacturers in Russia. We also do import and distribution of FMCG. In the last 2 years, we've started Ayurveda Life Sciences from India. So this is basically our business model, what we've been doing in the last 20 years in Russia.
How did you get into fashion? Because your family was in, because you like it? What makes someone go into that, and you need to love it in order to stick to it?
Traditionally, we've been into Yeah, so traditionally we've been a textiles business house. My dad, his brothers, everybody has been into textiles. For me, it was just so natural to get into it and transform it. But Russia was very different. Russia was about fashion. It was about fast fashion. It was about selecting seasons. It was very, very. So I tell people this, that the business of fashion changes faster than the iPhone. And remember, you heard it from me first. And that's exactly what's about it. You got to be really fast to be in the loop of understanding things, and you have to be quick enough to change yourself and adapt to the newer situations which come up every season.
So you like the pace?
I like the pace. I love fashion myself. I love good clothing. I like. I'm a curator, so I have a background of selections. I have a background of good taste, and that's what I execute. I continue to execute in my business over the period of years.
I think I've met you so many different times in so many different places on this planet, and every time you're very well dressed, and I love your shirts. So even now.
Thank you so much.
So, it's interesting. Coming from India, as you said, it felt like going back in time. I see it a lot for us. I'm from Israel. I was just now in the States for 35 days, and kept comparing the countries, the industries, the gaps, looking at it as an entrepreneur and saying, oh, we can start a business in this or there. How was it for you, the mind shift between coming from India to Russia? Were you like, oh, amazing ideas, we can do this, or were you like discouraged about it?
So, coming from India, initially it was a little discouraging because it was not a very open economy. You had to be a little secretive. People would not give you full information about it. You had to struggle a little. Language is a barrier initially, but the moment you click with your clientele, the moment you understand your market, you become more savvy. And language cannot be a barrier for any business. It may be a barrier for a few days, but language is never a barrier. So that wasn't a big barrier for me. What was more a barrier was understanding the community where I'm working, understanding social habits and decision-making processes of people. And that's when that was the key, because where I came from, business was always done on relationships. And you first built a relationship and then you did business, even with your clients. So here it was also the same. My approach was no different, but a lot of people were quite surprised about it. And to the extent that some relationships I've made in this country, which are with people with whom I don't have any business today, I used to have back then, but they're still in touch. We still call each other. We just speak to each other just out of friendship. So it became a medium for me, who came to a country where I didn't know anybody, not a single person. But there were different support systems for me. There was business, there was colleagues who were with me, my team, and also there was the International Art of Living Foundation, of which I am a member of for the last 24 years. So for me, it was more of rediscovering myself first, and then the country as well at the same time. It was just discovering everything was so fresh and so new for me.
Would you consider yourself an outgoing, outspoken person? Like, is it easy for you to go up to people and say, "Hello, my name is Kishore, and let's chat"?
Well, yes, I think so. That's a possibility. I wouldn't go on the Red Square and say, "People, look, I'm giving free hugs. Let's hug each other." I wouldn't do that. But yes, to start a conversation, yes, I can, and that's possible at many places.
Do you think it's an ability? Everyone can become friendly or a very good networker? Or is it because a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning, they need that. They need the network before they have a business, as you just said. What are the tips you would give young people who are now trying to go to the first conference, do the first step?
Neil, when I was in college, I used to read a lot. I don't read so much now as I used to back then. And once I read that there are no strangers in the world, there are only friends you haven't met before. So, and this used to be my thought process when I came to Russia. So I wasn't scared of anything. Also, when you're not scared of anything, the less you know, the more chances you have to grow, because you really don't know much. And there's always so much we don't know. And when we go out in the world working, when we don't know much, there's just more and more for us to learn, communicate, meet people. Network is very important, yes. And that's what happens when you meet new people, you talk to them, you create a bond, and then you start growing onto it. And it's not only for your work, I think it's for so many things, other than work is just 8 to 10 hours of our life every day. There's so much more beyond work. There's so much more to life just than work.
Yeah. I also feel that if you network for the sake of networking and you're not selling, or there's not necessarily a hidden interest, then you meet a lot of people that might, I don't know, in 2, 5, 10 years, be someone who either helps you, become your client, you buy from them, and so on. I think a lot of people are showing or looking at the very short-term goals, or very short-term, what's in it for me.
So when I meet somebody, when they approach me, and if it looks like only as a business pitch, I'm generally not interested. Because my idea is that I am quite settled. I don't want anything from you. What is it, that we have it in this conversation for each other? If it's only buying and selling, it doesn't click with me. So if there's something beyond, if there's some share of ideas, if there's something more than just buying and selling, then it really appeals to me. My first lesson in business, I remember very clearly, our professor asked in college, "What is a market?" And I was very quick to reply, "A market is a place where buyers and sellers meet." He said, "No, that's a bazaar. A market is basically aggregate demand meeting aggregate supply." And then it clicked me, whoa, a market is more beyond that, right? It's just beyond buying and selling. It's about human relationships. It's about communication. It's about consumer growth. It's about consumer behavior. And that's when it struck to me that life is more about, the relationships we have. It's about the communications we make. So network, if I do it only for the sake of doing business, it doesn't really work for me. For me, I think it really works well when I have a meaningful conversation and we also do business.
I started my career in sales for years. I would sell snowboards in Israel, in a country that has 10 months of summer. And I love selling. And I then studied communications and marketing, and then went to marketing and branding and so many things. And it feels like I know all the shticks and all the stories and all the tricks. But then once in a while, I'll meet a sales guy that does it so well, and I'm so appreciative that I'll buy it and say, I like it, that was good, got me. Do you have any person that came up to you and they were like, they came up to you with an interest or a sales pitch, and you said, you know what? I know you're trying to sell me, but I'll meet you anyway.
So yeah, so this was about some years back. I was attending an exhibition in Moscow, which we were running, and we were very busy. In the middle of all this comes a girl who was trying to sell us some services, which was for logistics. And I was trying to tell her, listen, not now. I just don't have the time right now. And inside me, I want to tell her this, but I'm just not saying that. I'm listening to her, what she's talking to me, because it makes a lot of sense to me. And it was opening a new door. And the way she was talking, explaining to me everything, it also looked very honest and credible. So I said, okay. And I heard her out. And it's been more than 7 years. We still do business with that company in the field of logistics, providing logistics solutions to us. I think sometimes there are many things which we take it for granted, like when we are selling something, we tend to just talk about the services we offer, everything. But some basic human values like honesty, credibility, they just go out of the window. But here was somebody who was totally different. And she was talking about some real, clear, crystal clear figures which were resonating with me. And it was very, very interesting to listen to that. It's very strange that you asked this question because when I go back in time, there are very few instances like these.
Yeah, well, is she still in that company, do you think? You know her? She's still there?
No, not she, she quit after a year, I remember.
She sold to you and she said, after this, I'm retiring. It's done.
I don't think so. But yeah.
No, I find that you mentioned going to conferences and exhibitions. Post COVID, what do you think? Everything went back to normal? Is this still a great place to network, meet, sell?
So, for Russia, where I am, we really did not have a very elongated COVID patch. We went into lockdown about the 30th of April, 30th of March 2020, and about 15th of May, we were back in business. So, we've not stopped working since the 15th of May 2020, officially. And one of the reasons is that the city was handling the COVID situation very well. Of course, the exhibitions were not on, but roundabout, it's been almost 8 to 9 months that it's been business as usual. Things are getting back to normal. Exhibitions are getting back. Of course, internationally, it's a challenge because there are so many restrictions to travel. But other than that, I think humanity as a race, humans, we can't follow norms the way they are for too long. And that exactly is one of the reasons why we have so many discoveries, so many inventions, because we want to break the protocol. We want to say that these things which have been put on us, these are not going to work. There's a better way to do it. And that's exactly one of the qualities of humans, that we tend to make things better sometimes.
Do you still do business with India? Would you start a bigger business there?
Yes, yes, yes. We do business with India. It's been, of course, largely when we started our business in Russia, it was more based with the Far East, with China, with Korea, with Indonesia. But over the period of years, our business with India has developed.
What do you think about the situation moving forward, like China versus India, working with Russia? How do you see that? Where do you think would be the opportunities in moving commodities and
Well,
fashion?
India has got a big opportunity. India has got a, India has got a very big opportunity because India is a very, very specific market. It's very interesting. When I worked in the industry of fashion with China, I was a little disappointed initially because China had great solutions for the business, but the environment in the physical environment in Chinese cities and production centers were extremely bad. There were centers which I visited where we couldn't even breathe properly. You could smell all the time. You had a smell of the chemical in the air. These are printing facilities where 90% of global clothing is printed. So we could talk about all the big brands. I can't name all of them, but you can understand all the fast fashion brands. They print their fabrics in China. And some of the places where I used to go, we would read in the local newspapers of water being damaged, the fish have just died and they're all floating on the river, and you can't breathe. So these were the things which really disappointed me. We tried to do as much as possible, to reach out and work with factories which had higher standards. But then, of course, we also had to look at the demand of our economy where we work, and we generally always faced a challenge in that sector because people really cared back then did not care so much about ecology as much as they do today. So that was one of the challenges. But overall, looking at the scenario, I think China is huge, big, strong in terms of fashion. They are one of the world's, they are the biggest suppliers of fashion clothing, fabrics. India is also in the race. India is more sophisticated. It's what norms I saw coming into China in the early 2010s were already in India in place much before. Having said that, I think they are very different, two different supply economies to the global scale. But but yeah, they both are very powerful, extremely powerful. I think India has a very large advantage right now post COVID. They have a very huge domestic demand. At the same time, internationally, it has seen a spurge of growth in supply for the last 12 months. The exports have risen. So I think India is getting extremely competitive about its position in the global market.
I assume that looking at Russia as a big market, you can only sit in Russia, you can only sit in a certain region in Russia and have a huge business. And we are now recording this early June 2020. And then a war starts. Did you ever need to diversify countries? Was that ever top of mind about it?
It was never on the top of my mind. Um, but look, you can never predict these things to happen. But when I was doing my program in MIT in 2014, 15, 16, 16 was my last year. At that point of time, a lot of professors, I remember Andrew Sherman, one of the attorneys, was giving us a lesson about business law. And when he finished, we all spoke about where were we from. And he picked me out. He said, "You, Kishore, you be careful. No, nothing's going to happen in Russia. You better move to United States." I thought, how can somebody say that? I love Russia. How can somebody even say that, knowing that I've been here for so many years? And today, when I go back in time, I see, yes, maybe they saw it coming. I did not. Uh, but having said that, I think these are kind of geopolitical crises which can happen anywhere at any point of time. And it's unpredictable what happens in war times, right? I see it as an opportunity also sometimes. There are many opportunities which come our way as entrepreneurs. Transformation of businesses happen. So war doesn't really benefit the people, but as entrepreneurs, there is definitely a lot of opportunity that comes up during any war period.
I can share with you two things. First of all, I wish peace on your country and the other side, and soon. I also wish that in my region and to countries who might not have peace with us at the moment. And I really hope it comes soon. On the other side, I can share with you that you say no one knows and no one can plan. In Israel, when we open a bar, for example, I own two bars, we have in the business plan every 3 years 1 month that is gone because there's some sort of a operation, mini war. It's like part of our living, the way we build the businesses. So when it happens, you're planned. So if it happens once every 4 years, that's good. And it's very strange because this is our reality, planning like that.
So look, Russia has been facing a crisis every 8 to 10 years. The first crisis it had was 91, then in 97, then in 2008 with the global crisis. The ruble depreciated almost 35%, 40%. 2014 with Crimea, and now 2022 again with this military operation. So we've seen these kind of crises, and every time we go through this, we come out a little stronger, right? My kids listen to this song, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." So if you are not dead, you definitely have scope to do something more. You get stronger, you build yourself, you build your environment, your company, and you come back even more stronger out of it. Now, will it happen this year? Will it happen the next year? I don't know, but we are in the process of it. Perhaps next year, next June, when we do another, when we are doing another podcast with you, I'll be able to share more what happened in this first 3 months of the military operation and how we came out of it and what did we do, what was that did work, what worked and what did not work. So yeah, but looking back in time, it makes you a lot resilient. Working in Russia is never easy. It has made us a lot resilient, personally, business wise. You do get the ability to absorb more, and you come out stronger from it, that is for sure.
It's interesting hearing you talk about not having an easy entrepreneurial life in Russia. And then I look at the not easy life of entrepreneurs in Israel. And then I hear, as I do more podcast episodes within EO members, each country has something that I find very strange or very difficult or very complicated, whether it's the weather, the way they hire, the way they can import. Everyone has a different way of calculating things. So it's very interesting. And I want to ask you a little bit about Russia has always been internet-wise, digital-wise, very different, right? You have Mailu and Yandex. And for those who don't know, they're very big and kind of like overshadow what is Google for us and things like that. So doing the fashion business, can you talk a little bit about the differences and also about digital? Like how are you taking the low-tech to high-tech?
So when I first joined EO, one of my priorities always in my business was to digitize it as much as I could, because I always knew there's something you can't digitize, right? I always say textiles is a business which is the second oldest business in the world. The first was food before you think anything else, because Adam ate the apple and then he realized he was naked, so he needed clothes, right? So the second most oldest business was fashion. And since then, times have changed. We've been, we become better, faster, higher, stronger. And you look at fashion today, everything is available online. It's only a mindset that we wish we could change. So we wish to change. We couldn't buy shirts earlier without trying them out. Today we take the risk. We order a shirt online. Women order clothing. Women are more using more of the internet, shopping clothes today than it was ever before. And what has changed? Only the mindset. And that's where I think the fun lies. The moment when the human mind changes, its perception, its observation, only then the expression becomes extremely different. So when we started digitizing our products, my first target was whatever we have in our warehouse, whatever is going to come, whatever we plan to get, let's digitize it, let's put it up on the internet. So we were always scared of copying, and what will happen if somebody copies. I said, well, nothing, doesn't matter. If someone will copy, if you're cool. If you're not cool, who's going to copy you? With that attitude, we moved forward and we got the whole warehouse up on our website. Then we started doing mobile versions. Then we started taking in-house pictures every day. Every second day we had a special photographer come in. So things kept moving, and things. And as you evolve, a new challenge comes up. You have challenges of security. You have challenges of storage. How do you give access? Whom to give access? And then in this whole process, you keep rediscovering and keep implying and putting new. Because, see, as entrepreneurs, we don't have the ability to raise large capital every day like maybe corporations do. But we have an ability which generally corporations don't have, and that's the ability to move very fast. So when we are able to move fast, we leave the corporations behind. That's how it works, I think.
So have you ever had to raise capital, or have you self-built everything?
I have self-built everything. I wish I had more sense to raise capital. I find myself a little too lazy on that front. But look, it's all okay, you know.
I can share with you the first time I wanted to raise money for a platform for restaurants. It was a long time ago. I was shopping around, meeting investors. I didn't have any money for anything, so I had to keep my day job as a consultant doing marketing for small businesses. And I found a venture, and they said, "Listen, we'll back you, but you have to quit everything." And I said, I understand, but the business plan I've prepared, I can't, there's no salary. I was planning on building everything at the same time. And they said, "How much do you need?" When I told them the number, they said, "Yeah, it's a bit too much. We're out." And I said, "What? That's like the smallest portion of the whole business plan." They said, "Yeah, but it was just above what we were planning on investing." And I felt it was like a catch-22. I ended up building it on my own, working day and night, 2 jobs, building it, then selling it for almost nothing. And now when I'm building something new, I wanted to make sure I have enough money and the style to do it without raising. So I hope it works. But I'll tell you, when we do the next episode next year, when you come again, I'll tell you if it worked or if I made a mistake.
Yeah, no, look, we didn't need capital when we started because it was funded by the group. There were partners. We were doing well, extremely well, and there came a time that we were stuck. Right, 2008 hit. Everything went kaput. We really had to close the company down. It was bankruptcy, but we didn't owe anybody anything, and we restarted. And whatever lessons I had learned in the earlier business, I put it back into my own business when I restarted the company on my own without any external help. I was raising capital. Back then, it was for foreigners. It was not easy to take bank loans. You were no bank would finance you because you were not a Russian national. So I went outside the country, raised capital, whatever I could, but never sold any stake in my company. Okay, and that's how I built the company, restarted again in 2008. So I think in some way or the other, the moment you know inside you that you can do it, money is never a challenge. This is something I've always believed in, that if you have your conviction, if you have the business model ready, if you have your numbers in place, then really money will come. Money will eventually come. It somehow or the other reaches to you.
You and I have built.
Very, perhaps it's a very holistic way of looking at money, but that's how I look at it.
I'm down completely. I agree with you. And being two people who've built their own businesses, and you've clearly built a big and successful business in Russia, which is very difficult. What do you think about this whole trend that we had about never making any profit, but rather raising a lot of money? It means the more money you raise, the more successful you are. And now suddenly it stops. What do you think about what's happening?
I don't know what those guys smoke every day to say that it doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is how much money you raise. I don't know what they're smoking, believe me. To me, business is very simple. I read somewhere and I heard this guy speak, and the person was talking about value creation. As entrepreneurs, our job is value creation. Are we creating value? Is the only one question we need to answer. If we creating value and we are generating cash out of that, that's good. That's fantastic. Okay, about valuations, about taking your company public, if you have something that can be scaled to that level and you can make it happen, then sure, why not? It's good to raise. At someday you will reach in profitability, but then you should be creating value. If you're not creating value, if you're, it's just about, if it's only about what we call as, it's only about tech and it's about looking at providing some solution. I don't know if it will work, but if you're creating value, it will definitely. So it's very simple. There's no rocket science to this, according to me.
If I would have heard so many other people tell me business is easy, don't worry about money, it's not rocket science, I would start a conversation that would be a bit more aggressive about, I don't agree with you and why are you saying that? But knowing what you've gone through and hearing you the last 30 minutes, I'm like, it's not rocket science. And I think it's very inspiring. So first of all, thank you for that. I have a question. I know you don't only actually say that, and you have proven and done that over the years, but within EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, you've actually decided to push and help other young people. And I think you're the biggest advocate in Europe for the GSEA, the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is and share with the audience why are you so into it?
So why am I passionate about GSEA? And look, it's very simple. I think there are two parts to this. The first part is that I'll tell you a short story. The founder of GSEA in Russia was a very good friend of ours from EO. His name was Sergei Vikhatsev. Sergei was an extremely successful businessman, extremely successful, big family. He created large business. And then he launched GSEA in Russia, made it one of the best GSEAs in the world. Believe me, when I say this, it was the best GSEA, better than the United States nationals, better than Canada, better than US and Canada perhaps put together. And creating something like this, he really inspired all of us to do something. Sergei passed away in 2016, and I was at his funeral. At that point of time, something came to me that, whatever happens, GSEA must go on, if not for anybody else, at least for Sergei, because he showed us the way. He led us to this point where he created something so beautiful. For me, it was extremely challenging to restart GSEA. The only year in the last 12, 13 years that we've not had GSEA in Russia was the year when Sergei passed away. And but that was the time when I decided, no, we'll come what may, we will make sure this program lives. And I'm very happy that it is still a part of EO in Russia, and it's still a part of our part of the world. Now, why GSEA? So you have to know, I come from a country where we believe it's more blessed to give. We all do our businesses, we become part of EO because we believe that we need to grow. We have a thirst for learning, we boldly go ahead, we have trust and respect in each other, and that's why we are on this conversation. But somewhere we also need to inculcate that it's more important to build bridges for us for the future, to support fellow entrepreneurs, because we know how challenging it was for us when we started, and there was no formal way of educating us, as entrepreneurs. And I strongly believe that entrepreneurs are born, they are not made. So that instinct is always inside us. All we need is a little push sometimes. All we need is a little door which needs to be open. And I think as successful businessmen who are part of EO, the least we can do is support the community around us of young entrepreneurs, of student entrepreneurs who wish to really make it big. And the least we can do is just open a GSEA program in the place where we are. So yeah, I think there's nothing more fulfilling when you see the GSEA finals, when you meet the GSEA contestants. GSEA is, by the way, Global Student Entrepreneur Award for all the listeners. And if it's not there in your chapter, please make it happen, because it's going to be one of the finest pieces of your EO experience.
What type of students apply for the competition? Which stage are they in?
So I'll tell you, I've just come back from the global finals, which was in Cape Town. I was in a studio. We were listening to entrepreneur. I was on the jury for the semi-finals with a team of EO members from Bahrain and from South Africa. So we were sitting in Cape Town, three of us, listening to the pitches. Right, there were 18 projects. Some projects were as basic as making jewelry out of terracotta clay. Now, you can't get more basic than that, right? You're still playing with earth on one hand, it's all handmade. On the other hand, there were entrepreneurs, student entrepreneurs, who were doing tech business. And I was just in shock that is this even possible? But yes, it's possible, right? And that's where you realize there's so much you don't know. Like there is a guy who is in Netherlands who's printing and using hydrogen peroxide for doing something which becomes ecologically clean, which reduces the carbon footprint, which does so much good to the environment. And he's just 18, 20, 21 years old. And the other side of the planet, there's this girl from India who's making handmade jewelry. So you just look at the bouquet of entrepreneurs that we have. It's wild, you know. There was this guy from Japan who's doing something with satellites. I mean, it's incredible sometimes when you listen to this project. Sometimes I feel I'm doing something extremely insignificant in life when I listen to these kids, you know, but they are just brilliant.
How many locations do we have in Europe currently, and how many students applied for last year or participated in Europe?
So every year for the past 2 years, we have been growing with GSEA programs in Europe. Currently, we are 16 GSEA programs, which means we are in roughly about 14 countries, 13 to 14 countries. Yeah, and my priority for next year is that I really hope that we reach 20 programs, GSEA competitions in Europe. We are reached out at the maximum pre-COVID times. We had reached to almost 60 countries and we had about 60 participants. But now what we're doing is that when there are countries which have more GSEA applications and more contestants, we send 2 or 3 participants, maybe 4 or 5 participants from that country for the global finals. So from USA, generally, we would have 1 participant to represent the country. This year, we had 7 participants. So approximately 60 to 70 student entrepreneurs enter the global finals, then they lead to the semi-finals and the finals. So I know that in your chapter in Israel, we don't yet have a program. I've been really pushing it. I really hope you guys started this year for the 22-23 year.
I think it's very interesting to look at this. We also have the accelerator program for businesses that have $250,000 revenue and above. Seeing the GSEA, I think it's mind-blowing that we even have all these programs to promote. And for people who are listening, wherever you are in Europe, if you're interested, feel free to reach out to EO and would be happy to either set it up or connect you to the relevant people. You know, I didn't know that story about Sergey, and I know a lot about EO stuff and history in Europe. So thank you for sharing that. That was very interesting. It's always amazing to learn new things, and I'm very happy that you picked up the baton and you keep going. And that explains a lot to me about the amount of passion and grit you've shown over the years. And it's interesting because at the end of the day, you do it because you love it as a volunteer. And I think you've impacted and touched so many people around Europe. So it's amazing and inspiring to me.
Thank you. I really hope that this continues, because to me, right now, when I'm offered to take roles in global positions or I'm in the regional, I don't like to do anything else besides GSEA.
I think, again, I completely understand. And on a personal level, the reason why I do this show, or the reason why I am promoting or an advocate for EO in Europe, is exactly because of the things you said. It is not about pushing the entrepreneurs organization in itself, but rather bringing the experience and the knowledge that we have. And I think you've been an abundance of amazing sentences and knowledge. I feel like we'll definitely use all of them in various places in the next couple months. it was great, and this is what I want to do. I want to help young entrepreneurs, even if they don't join, even if they don't need us, even if they just take one small thing and they can say that guy from EO made an impact, and the relevant people will come. I have no doubt, and we need to keep sharing the experience and the knowledge and the stories. And you know how much I love the stories. And I'll take a second to say thank you for the fifth time, I think, today. And I knew I was going to enjoy this conversation. I didn't know how much. I have a smile. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Nir. I didn't realize it's been almost an hour. Thanks so much.
Yeah. How was it, your interview? Did you have fun before we finished? The last things you want to say?
I think it liked the interview. It looked like a conversation which just went on. And it was very nice. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Kishore from EO Moscow, thank you very much. And if anyone wants to join GSEA, definitely reach out. If you want to launch a GSEA, if you don't have an EO chapter, by the way, and you are interested in launching a GSEA, reach out to us. We'll put his details. Kishore Mordani, thank you very much. We'll see you all in the next episode of EOer, and you can watch this episode both on YouTube, on our channel, and also on our website, eoer.com.